Welcome to Echoes of Culture, where African heritage and ancient wisdom meet truth, history, and faith. Today's question may surprise you. What if I told you that the version of the Apocalypse found in Ethiopia's ancient Bible is completely different from the Book of Revelation found in most Western Bibles? Yes, different visions, different messengers, even different messages. For generations, many of us grew up hearing about the Apocalypse, the terrifying end of the world described by John in the Book of Revelation. There we read about dragons, beasts, a final judgment, and the famous number 666. But in Ethiopia, one of the oldest Christian nations on earth, there exists another apocalypse. One not spoken about much in Western churches. One that doesn't match Revelation at all. This video will take you on a journey through both visions, the well-known Revelation and the lesser-known but powerful Ethiopian apocalyptic texts. We'll explore where they came from, what they teach, and most importantly, why they're so different. So, if you're ready to uncover lost knowledge, let's begin with a simple but powerful question. What is the Book of Revelation? The Book of Revelation is the last book of the New Testament. It's also the most mysterious and symbolic. Traditionally, it's believed to have been written by a man named John, sometimes called John the Revelator or John of Patmos. He is thought to have written it while in exile on the island of Patmos around 95 AD, during a time of great persecution against Christians by the Roman Empire. Revelation is full of vivid, often frightening images. There are 7 seals that open one by one, each bringing a new disaster. 4 horsemen ride across the earth bringing war, famine, and death. A terrible beast rises from the sea, and a mysterious number, 666, is given as the mark of the beast. Cities burn, trumpets sound, stars fall, and the world is judged. But through all of this, Revelation is not just about destruction. At its heart, it is about hope. It ends with the New Jerusalem, a beautiful holy city coming down from heaven, where there is no more pain, no more death, and God dwells with his people. Revelation was written to encourage believers who were suffering. It was telling them, hold on, a better day is coming. Justice will prevail. But this was a message written in a specific context to early Christians in the Roman Empire. Now, let's turn to Ethiopia, where a different vision of the end was being preserved. A vision not from John, but from a different voice entirely. In the ancient highlands of Ethiopia, a different kind of apocalypse has been read for centuries. This version is not found in most Western Bibles. Instead, it is found in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, one of the oldest and most complete Bibles in the world. In that Bible are many extra books, including several apocalyptic writings not known in the West. One of them is often called the Ethiopic Apocalypse of Ezra or Second Esdras. Unlike the Book of Revelation, this Ethiopian apocalypse is not full of monsters or dragons. Instead, it focuses on divine wisdom, righteous judgment, visions of heaven, and the role of Africa in the end of days. In some versions, a man, often named Ezra or Esdras, is given visions of a coming judgment. But these visions feel more like a conversation with God than a Hollywood movie. He asks deep questions about suffering, justice, and what will happen to the righteous and the wicked. The answers are spiritual, calm, and full of ancient wisdom. It speaks of judgment, but also of restoration, mercy, and truth. The Ethiopian apocalypse does not ignore Africa. In fact, it often places Africa at the very center of God's plan, unlike the Western version, which barely mentions the continent at all. This version wasn't created in fear. It was shaped by hope, African identity, and a deep sense of divine justice. But now, we must ask ourselves this question: why are these two visions, both called apocalypses, so different? Now let's break it down. Number 1. Authorship and origins. The Book of Revelation is attributed to John, possibly the apostle or another Christian prophet, writing in a time of Roman oppression. His visions are coded messages to the churches of Asia Minor, warning them of the dangers ahead. The Ethiopian apocalypse, on the other hand, is often attributed to Ezra, a Jewish scribe and priest. His writings are filled with references to ancient Israel, exile, and spiritual awakening. Some scholars believe parts of these texts were written even before Jesus, later preserved by the Ethiopian church. So already, we see a huge difference. One was written in exile under Rome, and the other was preserved in Africa under Solomonic Christian tradition. Number 2. Audience and cultural lens. Revelation was written for early Christians under Roman rule. It speaks in the language of fear, resistance, and coded hope. That's why there's so much symbolic language, because it was dangerous to speak openly. The Ethiopian apocalypse, however, speaks from an African worldview. Its audience was not hiding underground, but living in a kingdom where Christianity was state-supported. These texts reflect African spirituality, communal identity, and a cosmic view of justice. Number 3. Imagery and tone. Revelation is filled with terrifying creatures, a beast with 10 horns, a red dragon, locusts with human faces, along with fire, plagues, and earthquakes. The tone is urgent, heavy, and dramatic. Ethiopia's apocalyptic texts, on the other hand, are quieter and more meditative. In them, you'll read about angels holding books, thrones of judgment, souls being weighed, and the righteous shining like stars. Instead of monsters, you'll find mystical visions and heavenly light. Number 4. Theological message. The Book of Revelation teaches about a final war, good versus evil. Evil is destroyed completely. There's a clear break between those who are saved and those who are condemned. The Ethiopian apocalypse, however, leans more into repentance, restoration, and divine mercy. It asks the questions, what happens to those who suffer but never knew God? Can wisdom still reach them? It's more philosophical, like a conversation between humanity and heaven. Number 5. The role of Africa. Perhaps the most important difference is this. In Revelation, Africa is barely mentioned. But in the Ethiopian apocalypse, Africa is central. This includes the rivers of Ethiopia as sacred places, the Queen of Sheba and the Solomonic line, prophecies about Cush and Seba rising again. Africa is not just present, it is part of the prophecy. So, why do these differences exist, you may ask? The Ethiopian church developed independently of the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox traditions. While the Roman Church debated which books to include in the Bible, Ethiopia was preserving older scriptures, some rooted in Jewish apocalyptic thought, others in African oral tradition. The Ethiopian Bible includes books that were excluded by the Council of Nicaea and later church councils in Europe. These books, like the Apocalypse of Ezra, the Book of Enoch, and Jubilees, remained sacred in Ethiopian worship. Another reason for the difference is cultural worldview. Roman apocalyptic literature is often about defeating enemies and escaping persecution. African apocalyptic thought, especially in Ethiopia, is often about understanding suffering, honoring ancestors, and awaiting restoration through God's justice. Where one shouts war, the other whispers wisdom. So why does this matter at all? Because it reminds us that truth is not one-dimensional. There isn't only one way to imagine the end, or to seek God's justice. The Ethiopian apocalypse teaches us that Africa was never an afterthought in God's plan. It shows us that Africa had its own sacred visions, its own prophets, and its own understanding of the divine. By comparing these apocalypses, we don't have to pick sides. Instead, we can listen to both and learn. For Christians today, especially African believers, the Ethiopian texts offer a deeper connection to our spiritual roots, a sense of belonging in the story of salvation, and a powerful reminder that God speaks in many tongues, not just Greek or Latin. As we come to the end of this journey, we've now seen that the Book of Revelation and Ethiopia's apocalypse are not the same story. They come from different lands, different prophets, and different centuries. But they are both echoes of a human hunger to understand the end and to trust that something better is coming. The Western perspective tends to focus on renewal emerging after a period of tribulation, while the Ethiopian vision offers a lens of mercy even in judgment. One emphasizes struggle, while the other offers a reflection of wisdom and spiritual insight. And so, the question is not which is right, but rather, what can we learn from these two powerful visions? That the end is not just about destruction or fear, it's about hope, reflection, and the possibility of restoration. That different cultures can offer unique insights into the same divine mystery, and that wisdom is not found in one voice alone, but in the harmony of many. As we reflect on these apocalyptic stories, may we open our hearts to deeper understanding, not just of prophecy, but of ourselves, our history, and our place in God's story. If this touched you or gave you a new perspective, please like, share, and subscribe for more soul-stirring explorations from ancient texts and forgotten voices. And don't forget to leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.